Me. So welcome everybody to this month's virtual user group. We are part of the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform UK user group, no matter what Laura says about our precious Dynamics. And in fairness, I've not done a Dynamics implementation in like 5+ years. So like that aside. So we're a virtual user group. We come to you anywhere in the world. So I don't know if people want to put in the chat, where are you joining from? Are you joining from somewhere in the UK? Are you joining from somewhere in the rest of the world? I'm really interested to find out where different people are coming from today. We are presenting this on behalf of myself, Mike Hartley, who is also on the call, and Trish Sinclair and Narayan. We are all part of the virtual committee. If you don't know about our events, we do have events in person as well. There is a national user group that is happening in the north at the end of the year. I think it's September time. We also have local regional user groups in places like the northeast and Newcastle, Manchester, London. They have the full day one. They also have an evening one. Cambridge, Birmingham, all over the show. So loads of different places and loads of different ways to get involved. Probably southeast as well. So one always southwest. That's one I always through it. So lots of them. So do visit our website. Go to the next slide, Mike. Cool. With the virtual session, we took a decision. So if you're new here, we took a decision to run 2 different tracks and 2 different talks at every single event. We have an introductory level session, so levels 50 to 100, which basically is, hey, I don't know what Dynamics is, of which you should go back and watch our videos on intro to like Dynamic Sales, Dynamics Customer Service. We have great videos on our YouTube, which I'll put in the chat. So we do introductory things, so you can get, like, if you've never worked with Dynamics, if you've never worked Power Platform, if you've never worked with something before, we will have something for you. We will bring some nugget of information, some topic of information, and we'll bring that in for you. We'll also have something for our more advanced users as well. So we will run a level 200+ session. So this is much more of a deep dive, a much more technical brief, but we want to try and cater for both audiences and bring us all through. Turn to the next slide, Mike. So today's agenda, I'm a little over because we were having fun, but it's all good. We've got Laura Graham-Brown, who is here to talk as an introduction to Fabric. If you don't know what Fabric is, this is absolutely the best thing for you. If you thought it was just Power BI Plus, maybe it is. We'll find out from Laura.
It's what my clothes are made of. Isn't that it?
Yeah. And it's what time's made of as well. We can have a short break and then we'll go into our. So Laura's running our intro session today. Laura is an expert, a juggernaut of the industry. As we were joking at the start of this call, if you have a data problem, if you have a data question, if you have something to do with data, you ask Laura. She's on speed dial for a lot of people. I won't give out her number in this chat. Sorry, guys. Next up, we have Steve Middleton. So Steve is going to be talking to us about Power Pages and government design systems. If anyone is familiar with working inside a public sector, you may be familiar with GDS. So it's absolutely something that is crucial. And as the rise of Power Pages and everything else, this talk is going to be a fantastic talk.
Anybody who's used a government website like HMRC knows GDS.
So we'll have that, and we'll probably still have time for questions and chatter at the end, and we'll bring this to a close about 8 o'clock. So do you want to run to the next slide? We do want to say a big thank you to our sponsors. Our sponsors are what make these sorts of events happen, not just virtually, but also in person. So a big thank you to Develop, Digpacks, Infinity Group, Restro, Digital, Sear 365, Docs42, Mazit Global, Crimson, and Leapwork. Because without you, we can't do these sorts of events. So thank you. Next slide, please. And up first, we have Laura Graham-Brown. I'll leave this one. I'll pass this one over to you now, Laura. Take control.
Thank you very much. Let me just share a screen. Okay, so right, okay, introduction to Microsoft Fabric. Let's I'll explain the excitement about it, what it is, and we will have some demos which I'll try not to break. So, PowerPoint behave. So, sponsors, as Matt said, please, thank you. Docs 42 is I've come across some of those other names I don't know, but I will go and have a look. So let's move on. So me, Laura Graham Brown on LinkedIn, that's what you have to look for, but Laura GB in most of the places. I have a blog site and I have a YouTube channel which link to each other, Hatful of Data. At least for the next 7 days, I'm a data platform and BizApps MVP. I'm that person that sits in between and confuses people. So I'm that person that still thinks Power BI is in the Power Platform family, and is also in the data family, and is also in the Office family. It is the ginger child from the previous marriage. And so my speciality is getting things to work, between how can Power Automate help Fabric. It's been a session I've done recently quite a bit. How can Power BI talk to Dynamics? So I do know what Dynamics is, and as much as I am rude about it being all the things I've said, I only do that to wind people up. I am aware of how much data there is in something like Dynamics, and how Power BI and Microsoft Fabric nowadays can help and sort that out. So the agenda, 3 bits. We've got a bit of a talky bit at the beginning, then I'm going to do some demos, and then I'm going to give you some next steps as to where to go next. So, what's the fuss? Back in 2023, we had Microsoft Build. They had 2 major announcements. Microsoft Build, there were lots of Copilot announcements. This is a Copilot free zone, I promise. But the other part was Microsoft Fabric coming along, and it was actually quite a well-kept secret. I was on the private preview, but it would be the fastest way to have lost my MVP badge to have told anybody. What they did was they took a lot of tools that we all know and love from Azure, and things that we already knew, like Power BI, and they surfaced them all into Power BI. Okay, they surfaced them all into the Power BI workspace, and then kind of tried to rename Power BI into Fabric, and it didn't really work. So yes, lots of people still think of it as Power BI Plus, but it's Power BI Mega Plus. So databases, lakehouses, data factory, which transforms data and doing all those things it brought in. It also brought in some new tools. Synapse Real Analytics allows you to put in proper real-time reporting, and then act on it. But it's the ways of acting on that data actually kick straight back into Power Automate. So there are links here across. There are companies out there and clients I've worked with, but the reason they've gone to Fabric is they've got so much data in their Dynamics and they want to bring other data from their company in, so they're bringing it all into Fabric. And that's the way it's going forward. And I think there will be more and more things that Microsoft are trying to get data analytics, such as things like the COE starter kit and stuff like that. That shouldn't be sat in Dynamics. That should be sat in a database, because people want to analyze it and get the analytics out of it. Dataverse is built brilliantly for transactions and for building apps and the parts it can do into there. It's not built for analytics. So that's where Fabric steps in. And so are all the other things, Monday.com, whatever other systems you're using in your business, SAP or Salesforce, all those things. Okay. The idea of Fabric is to bring it into one place, because announcements galore. I like this slide. Sorry, I forgot the slides didn't exist. One of the other reasons I think they brought in Fabric was because it kept the icons department busy. because not only do they have Fabric icon, then they all got icons, and then every item got an icon, and there are constantly items appearing. It's like Power Platform was at the beginning when Dynamics formed into Power Platform and we brought all those new things in, and there seemed to be an update every flipping weekend. The Magic Fridays where Microsoft would break things is now is now Fabric as well. Is Laura allowed to mention? I'm allowed to mention those other products and platforms. We had Snowflake, and I haven't got a Databricks icon on here, at FabCon in Stockholm last year. But there are lots of things in here. So we've got AI tools in there. We've got machine learning, etc., all sorts of things included in Fabric. So the real problem for most people, okay, is not the big data engineering problems. Those big data engineering problems, yes, Fabric is stepping in to help and assist. But for most of us, that's not the issue. The issue is this. We've got some local systems, we've got some on-prem systems still because, hey, we have. People are still saving files onto shared drives or whatever. There still are servers in offices because that's the way companies still work. And we've still got cloud systems out there that don't have nice connections. And the way you get a download of the data is it gets emailed to somebody. Yes, we have some fantastic systems, Dynamics, all the other systems out there, even Databricks, AWS, yeah, I'm going to mention them all, are out there. So we end up with reporting that comes out that according to which report you're looking at, according to which time of day you're looking at it, whether Sam is on holiday or Joe in finance has been busy in meetings, is on a training course this week, so they haven't looked at their email, so they haven't copied the files into the right places. So the three reports that are out there are all slightly different and all giving a slightly different picture. Hence you get the slightly sad face on the right hand side. Okay, so that's where the common problem is, and that's where this is some of the quick wins we can step in with Fabric. So, and this is me not going complicated. This is me going, I'm working with clients doing very similar kind of things. So we've put in a gateway to connect up to some of our on-prem systems and maybe chucking them into a data flow, maybe chucking them into a pipeline, or even making use of notebooks. We're making use of shortcuts to prevent people repeating things. I will show you these all in the demos, okay? We're not going to build them all. I'm going to build a couple of things. But then we're going to try and keep it really simple, I promise. And we're putting it all inside a lakehouse or maybe a warehouse. And off the end of that is coming a semantic model. If you know Power BI or you've touched Power BI a little bit, the semantic model is the new name for data sets. And so therefore you've got multiple reports coming off the same data set. Or maybe you've got a couple of semantic models, but they're all connecting up to the lakehouse. And by the way, they're all live over whatever. A lot of the issues with reporting is refreshing and all those parts. Well, come along to Fabric and you get a thing called Direct Lake, which means your Power BI reports behave a lot quicker. Behave a lot quicker. Can you put yourself onto mute? Thank you. So we can move our data into one place, one source of truth. Okay, that's the idea. So Microsoft come up with this one place to put everything. Oh, wait a minute, there should be another icon on there, sorry. The one lake icon is where all the data is. As far as you're concerned, it isn't. They're lying slightly. But yeah, one ring to rule them all, definitely. And they recently announced one security to put into there. So I think that's on that I thought it was on the next slide. Obviously it's not. Let's go back up one. This one here. So they recently introduced this one, security, across the middle, and that's still in preview. It's still got some issues. It's still got some delights in there, but it allows things like Purview to come in and do its job inside Fabric, etc. And it allows you to not have to worry about all that delightful security that we have to go through. It will get there. It has to get there because we've got clients who won't touch Fabric without it, and they're the big boys, so they get to shout at Microsoft loudly. And they've also got Claire Edgerton on their side, and let's be honest, we're all petrified of her. So I'm sorry, I'm going to now sneak through because I don't know the numbers of my slides. So stop talking, Laura. Let's break some demos. So when you go to app.powerbi.com, the chances are you're used to, if you're using Power BI, you're used to this kind of view where it's showing you Power BI. Okay. If you switch in the bottom left-hand corner, you don't have to, by the way. If you switch in the bottom left-hand corner, you get to Fabric, and oh look, new icons, aren't they cute? And this is where they're talking about all the different things in here, the different models that they're expecting you to do. Even with new things like transitical flows, potentially to get rid of those embedded Power Apps inside your Power BI reports. Don't hold your breath. They don't work quite yet, but they will do. So we're going to take a little walk through some simple concepts inside Power BI, inside Fabric, and also hopefully give you some ideas. I'm only going to do, we're going to do a little bit of building, and then we're going to move into the prepped one because I'm not going to build it all in the next 20 minutes. So let's go into an empty workspace. So these task flows parts up here, this is to let you do some bit of documentation and a bit of organizing. That's all they're for, but they do help. Okay, so we want somewhere to store some data. Let's start by building a lake house. So I'm going to come into here. I've got a little store button. I've got a little store thing now, and I'm going to click new item. And there we are. We've got all things that you can store data in. Please don't use data marts. They've been in preview, I think, now for 3 years. They I'm assuming will vanish someday. So let's go for a lake house. And let's call this, I'm going to call it demo because I will get confused otherwise. So give it a quick moment to create. And here we are in a lake house. Lake houses versus warehouses. In real simple terms, lake houses let you have files. Warehouses only let you have tables. That's the simple version. And that's what we need for today. That's a good overview version. So there we are. I've got a lake house. And that lake house comes with its own semantic model. Please don't use it because it's badly built. And it also comes with its analytics, SQL analytics endpoint, which is important if you need that later for access for being able to read, write, and those kind of things from other places. We want to get some data. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click add and get data. And look, we get a little box. And I can put it in there and I can, oh, that's interesting. I can then do a wiggly line. And this doesn't do anything, that wiggly line, but it documents. This is getting data to put data into something in the store. Get data. And if you're using Power BI and using data flows and all those kind of things, I suggest you have a look at the task flows. They help. So if I go for a new item here, let's go for, my apologies, I've done the wrong. Let's go for, I remember what we're doing now. Let's go for a pipeline. Okay. When I'm not doing reporting, my other favorite topic is getting is automating things. Okay, so my real kind of remit in life is as a reporting process takes too long. Laura would like a button. That's kind of been my career. So this is the automation part of Fabric. This is kind of one of my happy places. So what I've got, and I'm really hoping I've got it on the, I'm just going to check I have got what I want on these things. Yes, I have. Everybody should have. Everybody should have. For doing demos, should have clipboard history. It saves so many problems. So pipelines allow me to put something. So what I want to do is I want to go to an API and get some data and save it as a file into my lakehouse. Okay. So we're going to do a copy data action. We're going to use the copy assistant. See, no code. Well, there'll be a little bit of code later. We're going to connect to HTTP. So into here, my URL is going to be, I've got a Mockaroo API, which has the entertainment that it gives me random data every time, which is slightly entertaining. And yeah, you shouldn't be putting keys in parts here. We should be using Azure Key Vault. I've only got 20 minutes to do a demo. But you can do that whole part. I'm going to leave all these parts alone, so I can just keep going next and next again. I have done, so I've got a whole bunch of YouTube videos, which I will put links up. I'm going to put links up to on the GitHub, which is my resources for this session. And I will show you where those are. Now, so we've done our data source. Where are we going to put our data? Well, we're going to put it in our lakehouse that we made. So there it is. And as soon as I click on there, it will start to connect up. Well, what do I want to do? Do I want to put it straight into a table? No, I want to put it into a file. Okay, and this is making it so that we've got all the evidence as we go. And I'm going to call this customers.csv because the API returns me a CSV file. And click next. Yeah, Mockaroo is I rely on Mockaroo hugely to produce me random data. And then we're going to click next. And there we are. It's saying source, and I can save and run. Okay, so it's going to run. If I look down here somewhere, it will show me what it's running in a second. But it's gonna run. There we go. It's running. And so pipelines allow you to work out a whole bunch of things. They allow you to join things together. We can put multiple activities in here, and we will in a second. They also allow you to. There aren't many triggers though. There are a few triggers. They're coming, but there aren't very many. I've got a YouTube of how to trigger it from Power Automate, if that's what you need. So the next thing we're going to do, okay, is once I've got that file, let's see if it worked. Let's see if that file appeared. So we look in there and it goes, no, it didn't appear. Well, now you go onto here and we go refresh. And there we are. We've got my, oh, look, the file's called the wrong name. Never mind. I'm not going to fix that. There's my file. Okay, it's a nice CSV file. Here understands CSV files, so we can go and have a look. Right, so what I'm going to do next is I want to put, once I've got that file, I need to put that file in a table. So we could do that using a data flow. I'll show you an example of data flow in a minute. But I'm going to show you something that perhaps is the little bit new part and to show you how we get it to write code for us. Okay, so let's go back to our user group. And all these bits, I realize I'm running through lots of stuff, okay? But all these parts you do bit by bit. Pick the easy things to do first. So we're going to go for getting data, or we're going to go for a notebook. We're going to add a data source and an existing data source. And there we are. There's our lakehouse. Name your lakehouse something sensible. Otherwise, you will forget what it's called. And there we are. There's our lakehouse. And we can see we've got some files. Now, I am not a Python writer in any shape or form. And I'm going to come into here and I'm going to click on my three dots. and I am going to load data, and I'm going to load data Spark. No, I don't know Spark. But there we are. It's going to load it, and I'm going to press the play button because it's going to take us a while. You have to wait for it to start a session, and that might, oh, it's going to run it straight away. That's nice. It sometimes can take 30 seconds, up to 30 seconds to run that, sometimes slightly longer. And what that DF basically has done is go and read that CSV file and then show me what's in it. And there we are. I've got my data. Okay, that works. So what do we want to do with that data? Well, when I look at it, I think, well, these are people's names, and I want to be able to sort them by first name or by last name. So I need to split them up. Well, I don't know Python, so I can't write that. So let's click the Data Wrangler button. Got a video about this as well. So Data Wrangler is a bit like Power Query in the fact that it will try and help you out, and it will write the code for you. So we're going to go for a few things here. We're going to fix a few things. And we're going to go with the account name. Okay, so the account name here, I want to split it. So I come over to here and I'm going to just type in split. And I don't even know what one of them is. But we're going to ignore all that, and we're going to go for the one that we do know what it is, split text. It's going to go split text. Let's go, okay, fine then. Or what do you want to do? Well, I want to split on a space. And as soon as I do that, it shows me what it's going to do. It shows me the red thing. It shows me the green things. I think, I don't want two halves of the surname. That's just good. So only split once. I only split on the first one. And there you are. It's showing me what I want to do there. And I'm hoping... No, it's not going to let me do that. Didn't think it did. I was just checking. And then, so it's done me my split. That worked. And look, it's written a whole bunch of code. Great, lovely. Let's click apply. So that's given me two columns. Well, they've got rubbish names. So let's go and rename those. So I'm going to rename that to their first name. Yeah? And there we are. It's showing me what the difference is going to be, and I can press apply. So this allows us, I'm just going to quickly finish this off just so I can show you this part, okay? And so Data Wrangler will let me do that part. Let me rename those columns. I notice the account ID is numbers, but if you look at the top there, it's text. Well, that's wrong. Let's change the column type. So real simple things that you can work out are wrong. And we're going to go for int 64. And we're going to go apply. So once we think we've got our data right, I'm going to leave it like that. And I'm just going to go add the code to my notebook. Now, it actually wrote it in Panda, but then it's converted it into Spark. And for those of you that are programmers, because I realise there's an awful lot of you that are Power Platform people, but actually you understand a lot of code. I am very aware of how many big brains there are on this call. It's written a nice little function in Spark, and then it's run it. And it's now given me a little data frame called df_clean. You can go in and you can edit these parts, and it's worth. It also loads the libraries that you need to do this. It does it for you. But it is just still text, and so therefore you could go in and edit it if you wanted to. But I have yet to have to write any code by hand. And it might not write the best code in the world. This might not be the best thing in there. But look, it's created me the columns that I need, and how I'm going to go from there. Then I am actually going to have to write some code. You know, like you have to occasionally write a patch statement. I hate writing patch statements. And I'm going to see if I've actually remembered to keep this on my... Yes, I have. So I will put this in the notes on my GitHub as to what the one line of code I had to write. It's on my my Fabric introduction notes as well. And I'm just not going to call it. And there we are. So this is basically take the data frame, write it, and it goes through a whole bunch of parameters and where we're going to save it. Okay. But just like we all go to, well, I personally go to Matt Devaney's website and copy code to write patch statements. and that's how we learn these things. And then I'm going to run that one. I'm going to prove this works. Once you've run it all, okay, it succeeded. Let's go and have a quick look, and then we'll just go and do a little bit to our pipeline and prove that that's working. So I can come now to my tables and do a refresh. And there we are. We've got an accounts table, and it's in there. Okay. Give it a moment to load the preview. So real simple stuff. Okay. You might not think it was simple because I've rushed through that hugely, but we can now get data that's in here that I can use. My data people can use SQL on. I can query, I can build a report really quickly off this. Okay. So back into my pipeline, I just want to show you one more thing in this pipeline, and then we will move to the prepped version so that I can take you on a bit of a tour of some more Fabric things. So we're going to add into here, we just wrote a notebook. So let's go and add our notebook to happen. So I just click notebook, and on my settings, I can go, it's that notebook one, because hey, we forgot to rename it. And this notebook only happens if that copy data works. Okay, we can put things in for if that copy data doesn't work. We can also rename them, put in descriptions, and all those things that you should do. Please do. But this gives us a way of automating, okay, and a way of ingesting some data. And we can save it, and we can then go and run it, and it will go away. It's going to start up again. It will go away, and it will run the data, go through it again. But while that's burbling away to itself, let's go and have a look under my workspaces. Let's filter down to conferences. And let's go to the prepped one. Okay, so I've put in to an accounts one. I've put in my pipeline and my notebook. For those of you that like Power Platform data flows, we now have data flows in Fabric that are very similar. They're written in exactly the same kind of ways. Okay, so I've got, this is combining a whole bunch of files, this one. This is not the one I meant to open. My apologies. I meant to open the other one. Train data, it's a nicer one. So the difference here, okay, so we've got a nice visual. They're very keen on their flow diagrams here. We've got carriages, seats, and timetable. Okay, all the three outputs. And if I click on any of these, down in the bottom right hand corner, we're adding in destinations. Okay, we can go and choose where they're going to go. So there's my seats and there's my timetable, all going into my lake house. Okay. Oh yeah, Sharon, I am 100%. Please guys, do note what Sharon has put in there about Matt Devaney. So these are putting data. We can send them off. Now, if I'm gonna take that off just for a second. Actually, no, I'm gonna press cancel. I'm gonna do it on one of these instead. On any of these queries, down the bottom right hand corner, there's a plus. And if we look there, we can send our data to a whole bunch of places: Lakehouse, Warehouse, SQL Database, SharePoint. I have no idea if Dataverse will one day appear there. I'm really hoping it does. I'm not breaking any NDAs here. I honestly don't know. There was a hint of it a year and a half ago, and then it vanished. And so I don't know whether that's just they went, no, we're not doing that. But actually, any tables in here can become virtual tables. But I've heard of virtual tables. Don't think I've ever done one. So there's my data flows in here. So I've got my pipeline, my notebook, my data flows. In here, I've got my lake houses. So once I've got my, and I've got my, so once you're in your lake house, you can go and build a semantic model. Okay, so for those of you that do know Power BI, this is the modeling part of your Power BI. And just recently they announced that you can edit the semantic models you make here in Power BI. But it's a Power BI without a report on the front of it to begin with. Okay, so if I go back into here, so that's what was in there. And if I look in the visualize, I haven't got any reports yet. We're getting there. I'm going to build a very quick report in 5 minutes. I've got a semantic model here. So I click on the name of the semantic model and I can go and have a look at the data model. I've got a calendar. Didn't mention calendar. So let's go and have a quick look at how I got the calendar. I got the calendar in the store. If you look, there is a calendar table, but it's got a little icon on the top left-hand corner. And what I did was, rather than every place having to build their own calendar, I went into here, I went to get data, and I went for a new shortcut. And new shortcuts, you can go to other places. Look, you can go to Dataverse. If you are going to look at shortcuts in Dataverse, I have not the time to demo that now. Perhaps that's a tech session you can get somebody in to do later. But that is definitely one of your more tech sessions. We can come into Fabric, and I can go and find a table from somewhere else to bring in. Okay, and that's what I did. I brought in my calendar from somewhere else. So one of the things that we're recommending to clients is stop rebuilding stuff. Have a central lakehouse that has all the nice tables, calendars, customer lists, those kind of things, and then pull them in shortcuts where people need them. So trying to make it easier for everybody. If I come back into here, there we are. We can see it's almost a star schema. Let's ignore the calendar point. It only points to the timetable. But there we are. We've got a kind of schema in there. Okay. So how do I then go and build a report? Let's do that in less than 5 minutes. So I'm going to go back into here. I'm going to go and look, we can analyze some data. We can explore this data. Look, a paginated report, SSRS still runs. Or we can go and create a blank report. Okay, so I'm only going to add a couple of visuals, I promise, guys. So let's go and create a blank report. Oh, that's novel. I broke it, guys. Okay, let's go. Let's go to there. Let's go to there. Let's go to there. Let's go back into here. Let's try one more time. Visualize. Let's go and create a blank report. There we go. We've got our data. So Laura didn't break it completely. So I've got measures that have been created. Okay. But let's go real simple. Let's go in, and I don't think I did formatting in these measures, but let's go for it. Let's put in a data card. How much money have we made? How many seats have we sold? Just thinking about it. 34 seats, not a lot of seats. I haven't put enough data in this. I haven't put enough bookings files in. That's my problem. What's the total sales we've done? So let's put another data card. Haven't got the new visuals in here, by the way. For those of you that are Power BI people. And no, I didn't do any formatting. Okay, my apologies. Should have done formatting on these measures. But there we go. I've got my data in there. I could go and add data very quickly, and this report would instantly refresh. This is the equivalent of direct query. It is running off the data live. What I could do is let's go and put in a chart, and let's go for my journey name, and let's put in how many seats were sold. Okay, so we've managed to put in a quick chart there. We can put in a slicer. I've got cute little, yeah, Thomas Tank Engine inspired me to name my carriages cute things. And there we go. I can put in things like filter down to amber, to beryl, etc. And it's instantly doing it. Okay, there isn't any pause in there for the data. And if this had been a direct query to a database, not using Direct Lake, there'd have been a pause between those filters. Okay, so the advantage we're getting here is from Direct Lake is we've got some, yeah, let's save it. Why not? Great name. We've got a whole bunch of things in here to help you out. Okay. Microsoft are very keen to sell you Fabric licenses. Of course they are. This is going to cost you money. You're going to have to buy the equivalent of what's a Fabric capacity. Okay, so capacity does all your compute and you pay for storage on top. Storage is cheap. It's not the main issue in here. Capacity is the main issue. Your prices here start from an F2, which we're talking about £300 a month. Up to, if you go up to an F64, we're talking £5,000 to £6,000 a month. But all the reports you can view in that F64 are free. You can then go higher than that to other prices. I can give you links to the price tables. They vary around the world. I realise it might not all be in the UK. They vary around the world as to where you're doing it, as to what the prices are. So, what do I suggest you do next? Okay. Firstly, assuming it hasn't been turned off on your trial, okay, we can go and if I come back into here, where I'm looking here, I've already started the trial, so I haven't got it. It's running out in 6 days. But down here, you end up with a button that says Start Trial. Okay. But on one of my other, oh, that's the wrong table. That's the wrong place I want to go. I've got a fakeroo. Well, he's not fake, he's a real person, but he doesn't log in, so I'm using his ID. There's a free trial button, and when you press the free trial button, here you are. And you nowadays can choose where your capacity is going to go for your trial capacity if you're working in places where your data can't leave your country. Okay, so they do have trial capacity regions, and then and you get 60 days of that. Okay, and anybody you can share that Fabric free trial around the company. Okay, so it all can be put onto multiple workspaces. So I highly recommend you go and play with that. Your Power BI admin can turn off this facility. I'm then going to be really cheeky and probably get told off for this. Nope, that's not what I want to do. I want to go to the next slide. That's what I want to do. Cheeky plug. I'm doing a Fabric introduction workshop at South Coast in October. Feel free to come and join me. It will give you a chance to do some of the building. I will not expect anybody to be a coder. I will not expect anybody to be a data engineer. It is really aimed at the citizen engineers. Also, look out for clients doing the equivalent of Power BI in a day, Fabric in a day. Look out for some of the introduction stuff that's out there. Okay. I am Matt. I'm going to South. I have to now. So, and there's a QR code if you want to go there, but I will also put a link on my GitHub. Okay. My recent New Year's resolution, it's not a New Year's resolution, but a recent resolution is that I will provide resources for all the sessions I do. So all of these slides, I think are already there. I can check in a second, but whilst I'm listening to the next session, I will certainly be making sure that I've got my GitHub up to date. I'm not sure it's completely up to date with all the things that I've used here today and the links to my YouTube. So if you look on my blog, I've got a bunch of Fabric ones on there. I've also got a YouTube channel with a bunch of Fabric things on there. Plus there are a whole bunch of fantastic people doing stuff out there People down the side here, Havens, Cube, of course he is. Microsoft, of course they are. On that very first page in Fabric, they were showing links to the Microsoft Learn, and they're pretty good, actually. Feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Yes, some of the people on this channel do have me on speed dial. Yes, I do answer Power BI questions. Yes, I do answer Fabric questions. No, I don't give out huge amounts of free consultancy. Just putting it out there. But yes, I'm perfectly happy to point you in the right direction for. I know lots of the data. I work quite hard to make sure my data connections are out there because I use all these guys to answer my dynamics questions. So in reply, I send the right questions to the right people in the data community. So, any questions that I haven't answered? Personal email accounts you can't do, but if you've got access to a trial tenancy or a trial CDX account, then yes, you can do it from there. But personal email will not do it. The Power BI team are quite, you can't do Power BI with a personal account unless you do a shed load of hackaroos, and that won't work on Fabric. Unless anything's been fixed on there, unless anybody knows any different. So sorry for that one, Renuka. Any other questions? I know I finished late.
You started late. We
delayed
you.
For me, I'm doing really well, Mike.
I was going to say you didn't crash the world around you, so yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I hadn't done that. I thought I nearly had, but hey ho.
Yeah, you got away with it. You got away with it. But awesome. Well, thank you so much, Laura. As always, you're a legend. And that was really informative. Hope people enjoyed that.
Hello, Laura.
Hello. Hello, who's that?
This is a little person. This is Thomas.
Hello, Thomas.
Say hello, Laura.
Hello, Laura.
Hello, Thomas.
Someone's come in just before bedtime.
Oh, okay. That sounds good.
No.
I made a race like I did this.
You did.
Hey, recruit them young. Recruit them young.
We'll say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Sweet dreams. But yes, guys, have a play, have a look, and see the things that are out there. There will be demos, etc., going on. There always are. Oh, a mentoring hub sounds good.
Cool.
Sounds good. No, I will be at South Coast. I will also hopefully be in as attendee at least at Collab Days in Bletchley in September. Trying to think what else is happening between now and then. There's a data day being done in Birmingham. I'll put out details for that, which I'm doing a translytical flows session, which, hey, is going to be bizarre and interesting. But sorry, translytical flows versus Power Apps in a Power BI report. And I'm doing paginated reports at Data Mines. So that's my autumn busy. Anyway, we're all meant to go for a break now.
Lots going on. Well, thank you as always, Laura.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Really appreciate it, and I hope folks enjoyed that session thoroughly, as I did. So cool. All right. Well, folks, let's grab a break for a short while. We'll grab a quick break.
Back
Well,
at 5 past.
yeah, let's say come back at 5 past. That'll be fine.
Cool.
Sounds a plan. And even got extra cuteness packed into this evening's session. I mean,
He wanted to know what I was doing. He came into the office and he's like, I'm helping people learn things. You know how like you learn things. He's like, yeah. I was like, he's like, who's that? I was like, that's Laura. And he went, hello, Laura. I was like, oh, you're on mute. I was there like, let's say it again. Hello, Laura.
That was lovely. That was
oh,
lovely.
sweet.
Really liked it.
Oh, lovely.
Right.
Well,
Right.
we will be back at 5 past 8, folks, for our next session with the awesome Steve Middleton talking about Power Pages and the government design system.
Awesome.
So we will catch you in just over about 7 minutes. Yeah, 5 past 7, not 5 past 8. Yeah. Well, time's flying in a weird way for me. See you in a bit, folks. Bye. Welcome back, people. It is 7:05. So hopefully folks have managed to grab a quick cup of tea, a bit of a light snack. So and think upon the wonders of Microsoft Fabric. So MCJ, would you like to do the next intro?
Sure thing. I'm trying desperately to get my headphones to connect to my laptop.
The joys.
So yes, so big thank you to Laura again, who was amazing taking us through everything Fabric. And next up we have Mr. Steve Middleton. So Steve Middleton comes from Capgemini, which is where myself and Mike come from as well. And he is apparently a guru in Power Pages and CDS. I'm very excited to hear this presentation. I've heard nothing but good things for people that may have seen it in the Northeast. But as my quick poll earlier today kind of showed, most people are from down south in this role. So I doubt most people have seen it. So I will hand it over to Steve.
Hello, good evening. Yes, you probably have to remember at the Northeast, I was the second presentation, so everyone was full of there was free beer and pizza, so that's probably why you got the good reviews. Let me share my screen and we'll kick off. Hoping you can see that okay.
All good, Steve.
That good? All right. So let's go. Right, we're off. So here's the agenda. Look away if you don't want any spoilers. It is, as just said, it's a variation of a talk that I gave at Newcastle. So I have removed a few AIs and Hawaii so you can understand, but there's been a few things that have happened since then. So hopefully something of interest to you all. So first, I would just like to say how good the first talk was. It was so it's nice to follow an MVP. It was nothing for my imposter syndrome. It was very interesting, but I would also like to thank the group sponsors who obviously make this possible. So, you know, a big thank you to these companies, but also to the individuals who put in the effort to run these events. So thank you. And yes, that's me. I'm a Microsoft Power Platform technical consultant working for Capgemini. But I've woven a bit of my past into this. So I'm not going to say much more about myself, but I thought I would start with a bit of an observation. So I've done numerous Power Platform courses from Udemy to Pluralsight and a bootcamp. And one thing I've noticed is they seem to follow the same sort of format. They start by singing the praises of the Power Platform, and you get to meet the players. So you meet the Canvas app, who's flexible, limitless, beautiful. And then you meet the model-driven apps who are smart, they're fast, they're powerful, and they get the job done with ease. Then there's the tireless Power Automate. He's quick and he does the work that you don't want to in the blink of an eye. We'll move on, we'll meet Power BI, who effortlessly makes sense of your data, saves you all those hours of work generating reports for the boss. And then you even meet Power Virtual Agent, who's always ready, willing, able to help your customers in need. But hold on. Now she's been empowered with artificial intelligence. She knows no end. And then in the background, they're brought together and empowered by Professor Dataverse here, the old powerful enterprise-ready backbone behind the team. And then they go, oh yeah, I nearly forgot. There's also this guy, Power Pages. Something to do with web pages. And I'm not sure why yours get skipped over so fast, but in my PL 900, there was only one question, and even that was about how you embed BI into Power Pages. So yeah, my talk's going to be about Power Pages. I've grown to kind of love him in a strange way. But before then, I'm going to start my favorite subject, me, something I know a lot about. I'm going to fast forward too long, didn't read this, but basically I've got a strange career. I came straight out of uni to work for the local port, and somehow I stayed there 26 years, dotting around a bit and winding up in the IT department until COVID came along, spoiled the fun, and I was made redundant. So I joined a Power Platform bootcamp because I was just researching it at the time, which led to an interview with Capgemini. Too long, didn't read. Here I am, still there. So that's about 2 and a bit years ago. So despite my advanced years, I'm still actually fairly new to the Power Platform game. So when I joined, I was put onto the bench, as they call it, and I was asked to do a bench project, which was a Canvas app. Brilliant, everyone loves Canvas apps. And they said, oh, here comes the boss, Ian. And they were saying they're using a GDS accelerator. What on earth's that? So I hit Google, found out what that was. We're obviously going to go into that in a bit. But I was quickly moved on to my first big boy project, which was a top tier government legal body. And they were going to have a model-driven app backend. Brilliant, get to learn about those as well. With a Power Pages front end. Okay, I remember that guy. And I was told that that's what I'm going to be mostly working on because my CV says I know a bit of HTML and JavaScript and jQuery and Bootstrap and all of that. So yeah, I wasn't massively delighted because I wanted to get stuck into the fun parts of Power Platform, and I felt I'd done enough web design, but you know, you don't always get a choice, and I was delighted just to be on project, to be honest. So that was the first project. Now, at this point, in Newcastle, I asked for a show of hands. It's a bit trickier on virtual, isn't it? But you know, how many people have actually used Power Pages in anger on a project? I know you'll all know it, obviously, but when I asked at Newcastle, it was probably about a third. So for that reason, I go off on a little aside here to do a very quick potted history of the Power Pages. So it started life as a third party. ADX Studios Portals, it was called. They're a Canadian-based partner, and they built it directly into Dynamics 365. And as so often happens, if somebody does something good, Microsoft come along and go, oh, we'll have that. So they acquired it in 2015, I believe. They integrated it into Dynamics as the Power Apps Portal, which a lot of people still refer it to. And it evolved into what we now know as Power Pages. So to be fair, they have done a fair bit of improvements. They've made it solution aware. They've really improved the speed and performance and rebranding. And looking at the roadmap, it does look like they're quite keen to keep this momentum going. So, you know, I do think Microsoft are quite invested in the product. So, yeah, apologies for the delay. Back to the main topic, me. So while I was on this project, there was a developer there who asked if I would like to help him because he's been working on this Power Pages GDS accelerator. Oh yeah, I know those words. So the idea was it's going to be an open source and readily available template to go on top of Power Pages. So again, another diversion. I think I'm going to talk now a bit about GDS itself. So what is GDS? Well, we've all seen it. There's, you know, the government digital service. Every time you've renewed your car tax or your passport or anything like that, you will have seen these sites. You'll recognize that it's not particularly exciting, but you've got to ask why? Why GDS? Well, GDS, it's not just a design system, it's a lifestyle, man. Without it, each department within the government might leave their designs up to us developers, which is not a great idea because we'd probably be putting Comic Sans and mouse trails and MIDI music on all the sites. But worse than that, it would be less accessible. So some of the reasons I put down here was it keeps things consistent, keeps them familiar and safe. You know, you got that trust, clarity, accessible, and also efficient because you're going to hit the same patterns and need to reuse some of these patterns. So it makes sense to have a unified way of doing things that's used by everyone. So I got to learn a bit more about this GDS accelerator that my colleagues had worked on. And like I say, the idea was it was going to be open source and it's sort of a template with the GDS components built in. So when the users visit they're getting the full GDS experience without actually knowing that it's this guy behind the scenes, Power Pages. So that was my first project. I'd learned so much. I'd worked pretty much solo in my last job, so it was a really interesting time for me, but a lot to learn, particularly at this stage of life. I had to learn an awful lot, but there wasn't much time to sit around relaxing because I was picked up and placed onto my second project. So I eagerly attended the warm-up meeting, and I was told that it was going to be another public sector organisation, and they're going to have a model-driven app back end, which is good. And they're going to have a Power Pages front end. And I thought, yeah, here we go. That I'm going to be working on. So yeah, it seems this is my life now. Which actually I'm quite pleased because it's kind of becoming my thing, and I'm embracing it now. So I tried to get out from web design, but Power Pages it is. But they did mention that this new project was going to be GDS, which is different to the last one. The last one used what they called GDS principles. This one was going to be a proper GDS site. So when we were talking about it at kickoff, I thought, oh, I think I know somebody who can help with that. So I thought I'd return to the accelerator, which I'd literally only just met. And sadly, the guy who introduced me to it moved on to a different company. So the first step I did was I installed it on my own machine to see what we had. And actually, it's pretty good. As you can see, it looks like a GDS website. But the first observation was that it's built on what they call the standard model, which is the older version of Power Platform. So I thought, should we upgrade? That's the first question, to the enhanced data model. So I had a quick look into it to find out what the pros are. And it's a bit of a no-brainer, particularly when it comes to the life cycle of the product. It becomes solution aware, which makes the whole deployment dance a lot easier. It's got better security and also future-proof. So I thought, yeah, this is going to be worth putting in the effort to try and upgrade this thing. So I'm not going to go into all of the steps. A lot of command line pack commands and fixing things that broke. The jQuery broke, the snippets, everything broke. But eventually, after a bit of hacking at it, I managed to get it working on the enhanced data model. And then I looked at the GDS site itself, and that was clear that GDS itself had moved on too. So it was using the Queen's crown. Obviously, we now have a king, but also the CSS and the components and the JavaScript even had all moved on. So it was a similar sort of thing where it was a case of bringing in the new files and testing each component, holding your breath, pressing refresh and F12 or F5 and just fixing everything. But yeah, I got there. I now had this blank GDS site ready to show the guys on the new project. And yeah, why did I go through all that? Well, it's great. Now we have this out of the box, ready to go GDS Power Pages accelerator. So if you want to have forms, there they are, all styled and ready to go with those lovely radio buttons and the yellow focus around them. Paging of record sets. They've done the work for me on this for how we page record sets as GDS, and all that nice validation with the red borders and the correct messages. And there's other things like the headers and menus, the breadcrumbs, the footers, all there, ready to go. And I think that's the worst PowerPoint slide I've ever made. Quite proud of that one. But obviously, you don't get too far with just these vanilla components. On any project, you're going to have to customize things. So at this point, I thought I'd cover how we actually do customize Power Pages. And to do that, it's important that you know a little bit about the anatomy of the Power Page. So there's a page. Every Power website has many pages, and each one is a distinct page with its own URL. Each page will have a page template, which this took me a little while to get my head around. It doesn't really have any content. It's just a bunch of metadata, but it's reusable within other pages. So the page templates, there are two types. There's a rewrite, which takes you off to like a system page or a resource. So for instance, the profile page, that's an old ASP.NET page and you can't really touch it. So it's a rewrite, takes you there. But the other types use, and these are the ones that we mostly use, web templates. So web templates, they're the bits that contain the actual markup, the bits that show stuff on a page. They can contain a combination of HTML, Liquid, CSS, custom JavaScript, and neatly they can be nested inside one another for reusable things. So you'll notice the blue bits there are the web templates on this page. So you'll have a header. There's the status of the site as a separate one, which can be set with a site setting. A footer would be one which wasn't on here. And then in the middle there, you will normally find one of the templates will have this little Liquid snippet. And that's the snippet that tells the Power Pages designer, that nasty WYSIWYG drag and drop thing, where the content goes. So that's the bit where the low code guys can come in and they can drag and drop images and new text fields and forms and all those fun things. So behind the scenes, it's really just dropping Liquid tags like that one in there, but that tells the site where your content is going to go. So you've got these web templates that, like I say, can be nested, reusable. Similar things are snippets, which you've probably heard of, but they're like smaller versions of web templates. You're not really supposed to put any or too much code or logic in them, but they're really good for reusable things such as help or links off to places. So the idea is you can update them in one place, and every page that uses that snippet will automatically update without you having to go through each one. So they're the main parts of the anatomy. The part two here is, well, how do we get things working? So in the real world, we have designers and customers who want things their way, and especially GDS. You're not going to get too far just out of the box. So when it comes to customizing your Power Page, there are two approaches really. I always recommend the first one as far as you can go, which is do as much as you can through low code and config. So you've still got a fair bit of control here. You can use your own markup on pages. So you run HTML, CSS, and of course you've got the out-of-the-box forms. And that's surprisingly powerful if you want to stick to just doing things how it wants to. In terms of customizing the forms, you've got some more options. You've got something called metadata, which that allows you to change things like lookups to drop downs. You can make option sets radios. Validation's quite a big one you can do on there, making fields mandatory. There's a fair bit you can do with this low code approach. But sooner or later, you will hit another wall, and then you have to switch to what we've been calling pro code. So this is where you start to use JavaScript to manipulate the DOM. So Power Pages will just spit out the code that it wants. You'll have what you're given. But you can use JavaScript, especially if you know jQuery, which comes bundled with it. So you can hide things, move them around. I'll come to some of those capabilities. There's Liquid, which is a scripting language developed by Shopify, I think it was, which can be surprisingly powerful. It can get data from the Dataverse. You can loop through things. You can put if statements. You can use variables. You can use Liquid to recreate your own components. So a subgrid's a classic one. You'll use it out of the box subgrid, and then somebody will say they want a button, custom button that does something, and there's a limit to how much you can do out of the box. So you can actually just do it exactly as you want using Liquid and HTML. And you can go a step further. You can start creating your own forms from pure HTML. And when you obviously need to update the Dataverse, you can interact using the web API. That lets you do all the CRUD operations. It's very fiddly and frustrating. It's not a lot by way of debugging, as I found out all afternoon today. But you can pretty much do anything you want with the web API. So it really does open up what you can do. You can trigger power automate flows, which is neat, and even do PCF controls. So there is a lot you can do once you break out of the box. So I'll just cover a few things here on JavaScript, what we can do. So typically just you can use vanilla JavaScript or jQuery, which is nice to work with. And yeah, you can show and hide things. You can do your own validation, restyle things, move things around wherever you want. You can pre-fill in forms, mess with the validation tooltips, pretty much anything. So it's really powerful. But at this point, it's important to say that you have to be careful with updating pages this way. So JavaScript really is just smoke and mirrors. It's a great way to improve the experience for the users, but anyone who knows how to open up the dev tools, they can just unhide anything you've hidden or re-enable it or edit anything. So yeah, anything that's security and business rules wise, that belongs server side. So we've covered how we can customize Power Pages. So I thought I would show a real-world GDS requirement and how I'm currently tackling it. So the requirement was something they call a GDS-style multi-step form with a check your answers final step. So here is your typical Power Pages form. You'll recognize that from the database form. And on the right is how Power Pages will output that as a standard form. So it's not a bad job, really. You've got all your fields there. You've got validation. It's not too bad, but it's very long. And GDS designers and GDS aligned people don't tend to like forms of this length. It's too many fields. It's overwhelming. It's not how they like to do it. So GDS itself prefers such forms as this to be broken up into steps instead of trying to put it all in one big lump like this. So Power Pages has already got multi-step forms. We're saved. Hey, there's one there. And it's true, you can build these multi-step forms, but in the real world, designers want the forms to work like this. So you'll have a small step and another step, and you'll notice there's a back button. So we need to be able to go backwards and forwards through the steps. The out-of-the-box multi-step form really doesn't like that. It does have a session management thing, but it's janky. I think that's the word. Not my first choice of word, but worse yet, we have this step here, which is called a check your answers step. And you will notice there's a change button next to each of the fields. So you need to be able to leap back into any of those steps to the field that you want to change and be able to change and update that. And yeah, good luck getting the out of the box one to do that. So when I was presented with this pattern, I thought, well, here we go. It looks like we're going to go pro code for this because it's definitely not out of the box. So first ideas were, well, we can build this. We can do liquid JavaScript, use the web API. And then we've got full control, which is great, but it's going to be quite time consuming and quite tricky to build. It's not that straightforward using the web API, but also it's going to be tricky to maintain and change in the future. And also, I'm being asked to do this on this one user story, but what are the chances there are further check your answers multi-step form requirements? So I remember this well. It was nearing the end of the day on a Friday, and I started just wondering, I wonder if there's a way we can do this that's reusable so that I don't have to keep doing the same thing every time. So I fired up the old Power Pages and had a look at Database, and I had a peek at how it builds these forms. So obviously you got the standard form on your database table there on the left, and on the right is the form I showed you that the Power Pages spits out. And each of those sections there they're just field sets. So I thought, well, can we break this form up using those field sets? So I fired up my own Power Pages environment, because at this point I wasn't working on projects. It was more sort of a curiosity thing. Can this be done? A proof of concept. So I had a look, and yeah, I was able to hide all but the first field set using JavaScript, and then add a little button in there that showed the next one and the next one. And then I added the back button to reverse that. So we can now go backwards and forwards through. So we're not leaving the page here. It's just showing and hiding those field sets. So that's why I'm calling it a pseudo step or pseudo page, pseudo form. It's all still on the same page, but you can now go between these, and with the back buttons, traverse how you like, exactly how they were asking. So then I turn my attention to the check your answers thing. So there's the pattern there off the design system that the government put online for all to see. So I grabbed that code, and I was able to get, again, just using JavaScript, the ability to build this check your answers step. So I made it as the last div in this little show and hide dance that we're doing, where we're using the field sets to go backwards and forwards. As far as getting the actual values, well, you never leave the page. So it's just a case of reading what currently is in each of those fields and popping them in to those fields there. And then there's the change links. Well, again, a bit more work, but basically you just jump back and show the field set that is in. And at this point, I remember I looked up from a screen and I realized I was sat in a very dark room with a cold cup of coffee. The house was completely empty. I think my wife had gone out, something to do with celebrating our anniversary. But yeah, I was quite excited about this. I think they call this the zone. So I kept returning to it on and off over the weekend and the next sort of following weeks, because this wasn't something that officially asked me to do yet on project. It was just a side project to help learn. So yes, it started to grow, this concept. And then I thought, well, if we're going to use this, it has to be robust. So the first hurdle was accessibility. And I think somewhere in the distance, Mike Hartley just cheered. Screen readers and assistive tech wouldn't understand the showing and hiding of stuff on the page. People will naturally want to click the forward and back buttons. Well, that's going to take them off the page and they'll lose anything they've entered. So I had a look into this, and there is a solution. You can do something called hash fragments. And what these do is they register a navigation event with the browser. So when we change each of those pages, it just adds this hash to the URL. And the browser treats that as if you've gone to a separate page. And the neat thing is, it means now, in theory, you could even come into a step right in the middle by bookmarking it. But also your screen readers and your keyboard navigation now works. Next thing I looked at was, the change. So when you click on change, we need to go to the correct form part, but also, again, for people using keyboards, we need to give that form focus. So it's just one line there, but you're able to jump from, when you click change, it'll find the correct form and give that field focus. So you're ready to type in. And this was the big one, validation. So there's not a lot of this documented publicly, but especially by Microsoft. I believe the way Power Pages handles validation is it's a bit of a leftover from the old ASP.NET web forms. So I did a lot of head scratching, because the problem I had was when you click submit, it's going to fire off all of the validation on the screens, but I need it to fire off on each separate page. So yeah, I did a lot of Googling. The large language model of my choice put out a restraining order on me, I think, the amount of questions I asked, but I eventually figured out that it's basically just like an array that you can you can loop through these validators. So basically, you just enable the ones that you need in the current field set. And yes, I got it working. So I was quite pleased with myself, all ready to go. And then I realized that it also needs to work for edit forms. So I tried it for the edit form. Of course, it all broke because the buttons had different names and all that sort of fun. But I'm not going to take you through that. A lot more fiddling and tweaking, and it seems to work. So I'll show you how it's implemented. So this is the middle bit of the Power page I was showing you. So we've got the title there, and when you put a standard form in, that's how the Liquid shows it. So it just tells you the form name and it plops it in and generates this markup for you. And if you want to make this one of these check your answers forms, basically you just need to put one web part include. So that web part then does all the trickery to make it work, so that you now, here we have this nice backwards and forwards multi-step form that automatically generates the check your answers step. So I've tested it on a lot of forms, all the different control types I can find, and I still want to test it more. But I had this working prototype, so I thought it had potential. So I showed the project lead, and he seemed to appreciate that it had potential as well. And he was calling it a wrapper, but I misheard. I thought he said a wrapper, so I called it little GDS, which AI says looks like this. So I think at this point, I'm going to be brave and do a demo. True story, about an hour before this call started, I thought I'd check my dev environment, and I got this. And yeah, panicked a bit. Loads of reboots, flailing around, bit of praying to the demo gods. And I eventually, if anyone's interested, found out it was, I had to renew the authentication key for the website. So I must have set this dev environment up 12 months ago to the day. So happy birthday, dev environment. Thanks for causing me such heartache. But yeah, I think, should we do a demo? Do a demo. Okay. Are we able to see the screen okay that I've just changed? I think that is a yes. Just see what will work. But so here is the database. We've got the table here, which is the contact table, and here are some of the forms. And I've created this little example form here, which I'm sure you'll all be familiar with. So I've just made a basic form, and these sections here, I've done one for information, another one for address, and another one for personal details. So we'll jump over to the portal, and here's the accelerator in use. So as you see, it just looks like one of those boring government sites with a header and footer. And I've just dropped a little out-of-the-box subgrid in just to help for this demo. And when we click on Create New, this is what the out-of-the-box standard form will do. So yeah, it's not bad. You get all the fields, and we've got this nice GDS validation going on as well. So it's okay, but as mentioned, we need to do this extra step with the check your answers. So to code we go. This page you're looking at there is the page. So basically you've got your heading, and that's where it inserts the form. So that's the out of the box form. That's what Power Pages will generate for you. If we insert little GDS here, so this is an include, which will be a web template. This is the monster that I wrote here, and I'm certainly not going to go through my coding with you on a call, but it's 300 odd pages of me flailing around that I'm tweaking. But if I save this now, into the site, and now when we go to create new, come on demo gods, the form now, instead of being one long nasty one, is broken up into those sections that we saw. So we're now on this top one, contact information. I'm hoping if I click continue, it fires off the validation, but just for this page. So, oops, I'm dark in my room, I can't see. I'll deliberately leave some blank here. And go, oh, we need to go back. So you see how we're going through the, and this is, again, we're not leaving the page. It's just using JavaScript to show and hide these sections. And these little hashes at the top are getting changed. And that means now I can use my back button and forward button and the keyboard. So this page has another required field, and that does get fired off. So he was born yesterday. And now when I click continue, here's the check your answers page. So it's put in the fields we have done, and it's now added these change abilities, so we can actually jump back and see how it gives us focus. So we can change that, and we can also go on Newcastle representing. Now, when I click confirm and submit, again, I've not done anything to the code for how Power Pages works behind the scenes. As far as Power Pages is concerned, that's just that big, long, ugly standard form. It just handles it the same. So the same goes for the edit form. So I can just edit as well. And it worked. I'm quite pleased about that. What I'll do is I'll come back to the presentation. There, right. So this is the new section, which is, well, what next? What ideas do we have for the future of the GDS Accelerator? So I'm just checking my time. I think we're okay, aren't we? This is a pattern that we've encountered a few times on project. So this is what we're calling a task list. So this is where you can put together a multiple task process. The idea is that you can jump off to these separate pages, and these can be multi-step forms, or you can check your answer forms, but you keep coming back to this and you can complete it in your own order, and eventually there'll be a check and submit stage at the end. So I'm thinking, yeah, could this be another wrapper, something that we can do to make it easier to build? I even started to wonder, well, can we use tabs to do these sections? So that's one that I'm chewing over in my mind. Another one's file upload. So we've been working on this drag and drop component here that gets around the out of the box 15 files at a time, and you can also set file types, file sizes, and you can then set metadata on the files as well. So again, it's all right as a one-off, but I'm already starting to think, well, is this something that's going to be asked for? Should I be doing a component or even a PCF? Because that's the next thing I need to start learning. I did find that just a month or so ago, yeah, back in March, they've redesigned the GDS chosen component for how to upload a file. So I'm thinking, yeah, can these be made into reusable components? We're nearly there, fear not. Another one is a type ahead. You'll have seen these, you know, when you start typing in something into a form. So there is one. It's on this GitHub here. I think it's been discontinued. But this is a common requirement, and it was a bit of a chew to implement. So I'm starting to think there's got to be a way we can create this for the GDS Accelerator so that we can have pretty much any field with a data source as a type ahead. And if you look on the GDS, the design system site on the left there, you can see all of these components, and they provide all the markup for them. So, you know, pick any of them. You could do the accordions, date pickers, because they have a very special way of doing dates. Their warning boxes, again, are the candidates for PCF, or there's something that we can shove into this accelerator. I'm sure they are. There's loads of ideas, and I would definitely be interested in hearing more. But I think I've probably waffled on long enough. But I'm hoping that through all this, you've seen something that's of interest. And I'm also hoping that as more people embrace the Power Pages, that maybe Power Pages will be accepted into the Power Platform as more than the afterthought it seemed to be when I first started learning it. So when I did this talk at Newcastle, it did spark quite a lot of really good conversation with people. I've had quite a few people come up to me and offer some ideas and suggestions. So if anyone has anything like that, just ping me, get in touch. It doesn't have to be now, just on LinkedIn or anything. I'd be very interested to hear. And I think, yeah, that probably brings me to the questions section. So if anyone has any nice, kind, easy to answer, quick questions, now's the time. So at this point, I think, have I been disconnected, or are there no questions?
That was a great session.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely not disconnected, Steve. People in the chat saying great presentation,
No.
really interesting. So no, that was awesome.
That was better than your Newcastle presentation, Steve.
Oh, you.
You got to come back and do another one now.
Newcastle is a dry run for this one.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's like warm-up football matches before the big game.
Well, the nice thing about this virtual one is I didn't have Ian and Larry heckling me throughout, so I think that's the longest I've spoken uninterrupted since I got married, so I'm not used to this.
I was on my best behaviour. I would heckle, but I was being good tonight. So, Dennis, you've got your hand up. Ask away. You'll need to come off mute. No, is that just a legacy hand that was meant to be an emoji, or if you've got your hand up, please come off mute and talk to us. We're friendly. We don't bite. Well, most of us. That no problem. Not a worry. We've all done the hangover hand. We have. Cool. Would you like to see us out for the evening then, Mr. Collins Jones? Do you want me to stick our slides back up?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, we've got the
Yeah.
QR codes and the sponsors.
I removed the QR codes.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
They're not for this. They're for the folder. I never updated them for.
Oh, I thought they were just generic ones for everybody. Oh, in that case, then I'll just stick the sponsor slide back up to say thank you to all our wonderful sponsors.
Yeah, thank you to our wonderful sponsors, and thank you to both presenters tonight. Both Laura and Steve gave up their personal time to not only prepare for this presentation tonight, but also to deliver it. So although Mike and the rest of the team, we organise these things, the real MVPs are Laura and Steve, who gave up their time to deliver these things for free. So I can't thank both of you enough. Thank you both for doing this tonight. Thank you to everyone that has joined tonight. I really hope you enjoyed the session. We're probably looking at running our next one. We'll probably give it a miss over the summer holidays and probably start up again at the start of September. So maybe as people are coming back from summer breaks and stuff like that. So want to thank you all for attending again. Thank the speakers. And unless you want to hang around and chat, may you all have a really good night.